Friday, folks. Looking forward to presenting the material today in the January 2026 provider information session. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the material. Our agenda today looks as follows. We will spend the first few minutes essentially just doing a little bit of housekeeping and an agenda review. Once we are done with that, we will kick it over to our partners. Thank you. As you come in, please feel free to mute your mics. Once we get through with the agenda review and through a few programmatic updates, we will kick it over to our partners from the Charles Lee Center so that they can review some updates on their behalf as it relates to evidence and validations. We are also joined by Lakeisha Page today from Able, Tennessee. I know Carly and some of our transition guides are going to go into some more of the information as we've learned how to best roll out these Able accounts for our participants that are meeting the minimum milestones that are required. Looking forward to sharing that information. And upon the completion of the Able accounts, Bree will provide us an update on where we are with our peer mentoring approach. Significant momentum and movement in that, and it is nothing short of a miraculous effort that has been, fostered here to get that program up and running. So we're really excited to show you where we are with that. We will wrap up with a quick review of some other programmatic information, including the program resource manual, now that the comment period has closed and we are actively reviewing those comments to make any last minute modifications before it goes live. And so without further ado, let's get into some of the highlights or stats from where we were as an entire program itself. Following suit from where we have operated in the past months, we are still operating with 22 provider agencies statewide. I know that many of the organizations have had correspondence with Kyle as we are approaching the contract renewal capacity. Please prioritize that effort so that we can ensure we don't have any lapse in ability to provide those services. As of, I think I updated this about a week or so ago, we had enrolled 893 participants on our way to 900 and 1,000 overall. This number does include everyone that has also been disenrolled from the program. This is a total enrollment measure of how many folks we've actively enrolled. Progressing towards the commitments to engage in enabling technology. Of those 893 participants, we have deployed 681 T-Mobile devices, and then we've personally equipped 65 devices with the AbleLink suite of applications, totaling over 700 people since MAP's inception that has touched one form of enabling technology. Just a true testament to our reinforcement and interest in promoting technology supports for our folks and services. We've also seen a tremendous increase in the individual facilitations for other alternative enabling technology solutions. We've completed 310, and we roughly have almost 200 more that are in some way, shape, or form in the process, totaling over 500 participants that are experiencing an independent individual facilitation for other enabling technology solutions. This number was up from 440, so we're continuously making strides to not only make enabling technology available early, but we're also returning back to it often with the pursuit of those individual facilitations. Everything within the program centers around those milestones, and my gosh, we have validated over 2,000 of them. Now, this includes all of this, the virtual community resource maps, all of the individual milestones, and I'm proud to report that home safety is maintaining that lead with over 160. This means that we've got 160 people that have actively increased their independence with staying at home and being safe within their home environment. We crossed a threshold over the past month as well. We achieved over 500 VCRMs that have actively been validated. I know that there's continuous progression on the utilization of VCRMs, and I'm excited to see what that looks like for MAPS as we continue to progress. The last couple of notable metrics, I just think it's impactful to show that we've almost had 4,600 validation requests. If you look at that volume up from 3,800 to 4,500, all of this is a testament to, one, the program's growth, but to two, the comfortability of our organizations feeling confident to submit for those validation requests, whether it's the the person-supported establishment incentive that we're going to talk about, or some of those individual milestones that they're achieving throughout their 3 years of their programming. Kudos to all of our provider partners out there for the work that you're doing, and this is evident in showing that a value-based program can produce results for the folks that we're supporting. We continue to maintain around an 85% validation approval rate. I show this metric just to ensure and continue to provide the confidence to our providers that our partners with CLC and our provider organizations are working diligently to ensure that we are providing adequate technical assistance, and we're working to approve those validation requests themselves. Of the 4,500, almost 4,600 that have been submitted, only 230 of them have been denied because there hasn't been there's not been sufficient evidence to confirm actual growth or independence, roughly around 5%. So all of this should lead to the fact that there is the work is being done, the validation efforts are showing the proof, and we're seeing that the few validation requests come in, those that are denied, even fewer of them are because there's not actual evidence. Keep submitting those. This is the heart of the program. This is the growth and the independence for those participants that we're supporting, and so these metrics will always show the success of the program. We actively had 74 people that have achieved 6 or more milestones that were ready for that person-supported establishment incentive. I know we're going to spend some more time talking about that today, but this is just tremendous. This is those folks that are in their 3rd year that have actively achieved the necessary results, and we get to actively provide some graduation planning for some of those participants, which it leads us to the last part of some of that planning is underway. I know Kyle and the team are feverishly progressing to get ready for some of those folks as they reach that end mark. Kudos to everyone for those folks, and I'm excited to see the number of participants that continue to progress with achieving that person-supported establishment incentive. With that, I'm ready to go ahead and turn it over to the Charles Lee Center. They've got some updates that they wish to provide on some of their progression. So Charles Lee Center, feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Jay. Good morning, everyone. We just want to quickly share some exciting updates happening at the Charles Lee Center. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat where our director, Sandra, will be responding. So in a continued effort to streamline our validation process, we have developed the role of validation specialist, and we are very excited to welcome our very own Jonathan Wagner to this role. With Jonathan taking on this role, this means that we will have a dedicated person responsible for facilitating validation reviews. So this role is going to help us further implement a standardized review process. It's going to help us streamline that process by maintaining detailed documentation, and it's going to promote efficiency by ensuring the timely and accurate completion of validation reviews. This position doesn't go into effect until February 16th, so we really appreciate your patience as we continue to iron out how this role will support and also develop our current validation review process. Along with that, we have also created a regional email address for evidence submission. So please make note of this email address based on what region your agency falls under. We feel that this is a really beneficial step in refining our processes as it promotes transparency and accountability, and it also offers a centralized location for evidence collection. So this allows our regional managers, as well as our oncoming validation specialist, access to evidence submitted within their respective regions. So how does this impact provider agencies? Even though Jonathan won't be stepping into this role until mid-February, we do ask that you go ahead and start utilizing the regional evidence submission emails. They are up, running, they are ready to go. Please note that you will continue to send any relevant milestone evidence via email to your assigned IC, and then we ask that you also CC the email address for your respective region. And that, I said it would be quick. That is all we have. I will turn it back over to Jay.
Thank you, Caitlin. I think Carly's up next. Carly, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. So we just wanted to give some information about MAPS ABLE accounts and what that process will look like. And then we will kick it over to Miss Lakeisha Page, who is on here to support any of you all with ABLE accounts. So just a brief overview is that all MAPS participants that are receiving that $4,000 person-supported establishment incentive will need to have an ABLE account set up. And the easiest way to set that up is using that online portal on the ABLE-TN website. There's an email address that you can use to get some additional help if you need. And once enrolled, you're able to contribute withdrawal and update your information on that online portal. We also put in this PowerPoint a link to some FAQs that you can access. Next slide, please. So just a brief overview again, a reminder about this person-supported establishment incentive. The purpose is to provide ICs and provider agencies with detailed information and clear procedures in order to request that payment. So there's a mechanism to make sure that those milestones have been completed and have a single payment available as a pass-through. So we will give that money to you as the provider agency, and then you will deposit it into that person's ABLE account. So the requirements to be eligible for that payment are they have completed 3 years of the MAPS program. They have achieved a minimum of 6 out of 11 MAPS milestones, which are validated and distinct. This means that if they repeat a milestone, that will not count towards that 6 requirement. And then the ABLE account has been opened, and we can verify that that account has been opened. Next slide, please. So the person-supported establishment incentive will be eligible for billing submission by the provider, and the provider will submit that pre- and post-claim process. We want to support providers to give you that $4,000 that you can put into that person's account. So how this works is that providers may submit a pre-claim within 60 days at the end of that third-year budget. Along with your submission, you need to have the following items prepared. So you need to be able to demonstrate that the person is 60 days or less from the end of their third-year budget cycle. You'll need to verify that that ABLE account is open, and we will provide some more specific information about that. Verification of 6 out of those 11 milestones have been completed. And then on the side of Charles Leaf Center, the IC will validate that within 7 days. Next slide, please. So once the pre-claim is approved, now what? This is when you as the provider can invoice DDA. So same way that you invoice any other milestone payment, you'll send that invoice over to us. And then in terms of the post-claim submission, once the money has been deposited into the ABLE account, you can submit a post-claim into the portal. You'll need to submit the following with your submission: confirmation that that $4,000 was deposited into that person's ABLE account. The picture of a participant holding their giant check is optional, but highly suggested. Just a fun thing to show them reaching that milestone and getting that check. It can be submitted up to 60 days post of that end of year 3 budget cycle. And again, the IC will validate that within 7 days. Next slide, please. So this is just showing that same process just as a flow chart. This PowerPoint will be sent out to you so you all can have this for review. But the MAPS participant is within 60 days of that end of budget cycle. The provider is going to submit that pre-claim to the portal. Make sure you have that evidence of the account end of year 3 in that pre-claim submission. The provider will pay that $4,000 after they get the invoice over to DDA. And then the provider can submit a post-claim to the portal for that establishment incentive. And just make sure you have all of that verification and everything in that post-claim. And if a provider fails to submit the post-claim within 60 days, DDA has the right to recoup that payment that has been sent out if we don't see confirmation that it was deposited into that person's account. And now I will kick it over to Miss Lakeisha Page.
Thank you so much. I thank you. A great overview in terms of where to go to establish those ABLE Tennessee accounts. Like I said, I've spoken with some agencies already who are working with their clients to establish their ABLE Tennessee accounts. But really, if you would just have the clients visit abletn.gov, and there they will see Enroll Now. There are certain things that they'll have to know when they establish their ABLE Tennessee account. Of course, if the individual in the MAPS program is a minor, then the parent or guardian guardian, we need to establish that account. And I've only spoken with one family where the individual was like maybe 17, was a minor. But if the individual in the MAPS program is at least 18 years or older, he or she could open his own Able Tennessee account, and they would select the option that says, I am the individual with the disability, and provide their name, their address, their social, and they do have to select at least one investment option when setting up the account. Our client services team can provide education about all of the investment options. However, we cannot make the selection for them. We do list our investment options from most aggressive to most conservative, with our most conservative option being our money market option. And we usually do tell people it really depends on when you want to use the funds, what are your savings goals, and what are your tolerances for risk. But our most popular investment option is our money market option. That's among all able participants. If you do have a participant in MAPS who has a conservator, and especially a conservator who has the ability to handle the finances for the individual who participates in MAPS, then that conservator can open the account as an authorized individual, and he or she would just need to provide a copy of the conservatorship, a court documentation, the court order. But I will say, so far I've spoken with different parents. It's like most, not parents, forgive me, participants, most of whom are able to open the account themselves as an individual because they are at least 18 years of age or older, and a court has not removed their ability to handle their own finances. So very excited about that. But if you haven't, just go to abletn.gov, click on Enroll Now, and then follow the prompts. It should take about 15 minutes for that online account enrollment if they have all their personal information there, and if they have an idea as to investment selection. Now, when you see all able accounts, it'll tell you online, which is true. All accounts have to be opened with at least $25, but there is a grace period for that initial contribution. So if you have a MAPS participant who does not want to contribute $25 from their own funds to establish the account, they don't have to. As they cycle through the online enrollment, ensure that they select the option for check when it gets to the funding option. So just select the check option. What that allows them to do is complete the online enrollment without having to give banking information during the enrollment to make an initial contribution. The account will remain opened for 60 days with that check option. So basically, it will remain open with a zero balance for 60 days with that check option. After 60 days, the system automatically closes the account, which is okay, because we do know that sometimes maybe the MAPS participant may open the account, let's say today, but let's say if the funding doesn't go in within the 60-day period, it's not the end of the world. If you find that you have a MAPS participant who opened their account and selected the check option and their account did close, just contact us and let us know. We can reopen the account. Now, the money has to come into the account within 6 months. So 6 months from the day the account is open, you have to actually fund it before you have to start the process all over again. In terms of the MAPS participant would have to go through the entire enrollment process again if no contributions comes into the account after 6 months. So I'll just kind of reiterate that, have them select the check option to cycle through if they don't want to put in their own $25 to open the account, knowing that the MAPS $4,000 incentive money may be the first contribution into the account. If you can't get that MAPS contribution money within 60 days and the account automatically closes, contact our office. You can contact us able.tn@tn.gov as our email address. Or you can reach out to me directly, and there's my email address on the screen here. We can get those accounts reopened, but you only have 6 months from the day they open that account to actually make that initial contribution. Just want to make you aware of that as a provider. The great thing is, once the account is open, if you need them to provide proof to you, there is a new account letter that generates to all new able participants, and so that letter is sent to them via mail, and is also available behind the client portal when they log in and access their profile and documents. So that could be used as proof that the able account has been established. And then when it comes to verifying or making the contribution and then verifying that you've made the contribution to the able account, there are a couple of ways that you can make the contribution. Of course, if you have a copy of the new account letter, you will have the account number. And so if you want to send a check with the the MAPS client name and their account number, we would get those checks deposited into the Able Tennessee account. However, if you wanted to make an electronic contribution into the Able account, every Able Tennessee account is assigned a unique UGIFT code. It is a 6-digit code. Each Able participant will see that code under the UGIFT section behind their login, and they can provide to you that 6-digit code. You will then go to ugiftable.com, enter the code, and it will enable you to make an electronic gift. You'll also get confirmation of that electronic gift there. And the Able Tennessee client or MAPS client will also get a financial confirmation for all contributions to their account that they can provide as well for you to have proof that the money was actually contributed to the Able account. Now, finally, I would love to develop some specific frequently asked questions for this group, specific to your processes and questions that your clients may have about their Able Tennessee accounts. But I'd like to collect those. Of course, I've been able to glean some insight from many of the questions that I receive when I do some of the one-on-one presentations with either an agency or some of the family or some of the individuals who are in the MAPS program. But please feel free to email me at lakeisha.page@tn.gov any of your questions. Our goal is to get those frequently asked questions kind of developed within the month of February, and that way we can provide them to Bria and others to share with agencies so that you can have those that maybe assist your clients and those who are reaching those milestones if they have questions throughout this process specific to Able Tennessee. And so I will stop there to see if there are any questions. Here I do see that there were some things that popped up in the chat, but definitely wanted to provide the balance of my time for you to ask any questions you may have of me. Well, with none, I'll look and see what came in the chat to see if they were specific to the process with Able Tennessee.
Lakeisha, I don't see
Yes.
any. Sounds like that
Yes.
chat function will remain open, folks. If something comes up along the rest of this presentation, feel free to drop them in chat and we'll just continue to monitor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. And I appreciate the opportunity to share. Thank you as well, Carly.
Thanks, Lakeisha. And Lakeisha has been so helpful. As she mentioned, she has set up, so if you shoot her an email, some of our provider agencies with these first off MAPS graduates, and she's been setting up extra meetings with the provider agency, even with the MAPS participants and their families to help get these accounts open. So we greatly appreciate all of your support, Lakeisha. And like she said, she is going to help us develop that FAQ. So if you have questions, email her directly. And then she will be joining us again at the February, I believe it's the 18th, maybe the 16th, 18th, provider-led lunch and learn, where Miller Rich is going to share their process for helping their participants set up Able accounts. And then Lakeisha will share even more details for you all. Moving into peer mentoring. So peer mentoring has continued to make exciting changes and growth over the last couple months. As you all hopefully know, with the MAPS program, we have thoughtfully expanded statewide, where we initially started MAPS services in Middle, then to East, and then into West. So peer mentoring is kind of following suit in hopes of making peer mentoring services the best that it can be as we go through this pilot. So our two peer mentoring agencies, again, are ARC of Tennessee and ETSU. ARC has fully hired and trained 6 peer mentors. They have already matched 10 mentees. So I've been working with one specific provider agency in the Middle and East region to trial that referral process. East now has 4 mentee referrals. And they are looking to grow more. So be looking for some more information from me about looking at opening up referrals to other agencies in Middle and East right now. I apologize, West. We are working in the background to get you the option of peer mentoring services for the people you all support as well. Another resource you will find, the MAPS website has been updated to include a peer mentoring resource tab with some more information. I know in those initial conversations, with MAPS participants, we had people looking for more information. So this is a good place to direct them to that peer mentoring resource page. And then there is also a one-pager that could be emailed out. And I have attached this to the one pager to the PowerPoint. So when you all receive the PowerPoint later, you should hopefully be able to access that easily. I am also continuing to discuss with my providers that trialed the peer mentoring referral process. And I had an IC trial the process for me as well. So just looking at finalizing all of that to be able to communicate to you all better what that looks like and the best process moving forward. So again, I'm looking at opening that referral to all of you provider agencies in Middle and East in February. So I will shoot an email out when we are ready for that to expand. If additional questions come up, please feel free to shoot me an email about peer mentoring.
All right, y'all. So we're going to talk a little bit about the resource manual, but fun story. I have not had internet all week, and my hotspot is not liking that. So I actually don't see our presentation right now. So this will be a little bit going off the top of the head. But as I remember it, this resource manual page is largely just summarizing, we were able to review all the comments that were provided. So thank you all to all the providers and network that provide those comments. Our team has looked through all of those. We've also found some things that we're going to be updating as well. So be on the lookout for that. We're looking to publish that March 1st. And so again, while the comment window is currently closed, hey, I think I may have an image for our slides coming up. That's wonderful for me. But anyways, be on the lookout. March 1st, 2026, we will have that MAPS program manual published. Next slide. Hopefully you all are seeing what that next slide is. I currently don't. So we do have some project updates. In fact, I will go mute for a second. If someone can go ahead and read out those updates there we go. Actually, they just popped up on my screen. How magical is that? So we have quite a few updates here. There's a lot shaking, especially with graduation right now. The first thing I wanted to talk about specifically was the AbleLink devices. And so obviously you saw on Jay's page, we have over 680 of those bad boys out. And we have a lot of people graduating this year. And so what we've done, we've worked with AbleLink to put together a one-sheeter that explains the 3 options available for everyone who has been using AbleLink support. So I'm just going to run through those briefly, but I do want to encourage you all, when you get that form, to please review it, especially with your MAPS participants. So the first option that we have is a standard termination. So when that person is graduating, AbleLink and T-Mobile contract, that is also going to expire. Now, what they're going to get is an alert from the phone that their service has been suspended. On our one-sheeter, we have a contact for AbleLink that if the person would like to have the phone service transferred to another provider, or even within T-Mobile already, they can contact maps.support@ablelinktech.com. Let them know what the need is, and AbleLink is going to port out that device to another provider for our participants. So that's option 1. They don't want to keep with AbleLink. They don't need the apps, but they do want to keep their cell phone number. They need to contact maps.support@ablelinktech.com to get that phone number ported out to a new service provider. So that's option 1. Option 2, if the person has enjoyed the T-Mobile phone service that they have, as well as the managed device through AbleLink and those apps, they can continue that service. And so on that one-sheeter, we're going to show 2 different options available for people who are either continuing with the waiver, such as transitioning into ECF. This can also apply for future services as well. Or if they are not going into ECF or into another service, there's another option available for them. Now, the third option is if people were already using their personal phones, but they were using the AbleLink apps at their graduation. Upon graduation, they will no longer have access to those apps. Now, if you wish to continue to have those apps on the phone, they will need to contact AbleLink prior to that graduation, and that's the same maps.support@ablelinktech.com. That was a lot of information. You're going to get a one-sheeter that outlines all of that. I would encourage you, when you look through that, if you have questions not addressed in that FAQ, contact us. We've got a great relationship with AbleLink. The next piece is related to the employment training rubric. There have been some changes with DDA's training when it comes to some of the job developer roles. And so just to make it easier, if you all saw the update that we sent out, we've updated our training rubric to simply reflect the ongoing guidance from DDA. And so instead of having to go through and update individual trainings, our training is DDA's. And so when it comes to any sort of employment services, job coaching, or job developing, we're deferring to DDA. And so if you go to our rubric currently, you will see that it's referencing DDA. And so we have the link on there. So if you all need to update your training to reflect that change, by all means, you can copy and paste if you'd like. Next is our MAPS team growth. My goodness, not just me. I'm new. I am just now approaching about 2 months up here. But we have also been able to grow not just our East Transition Guide position, but we also now have a housing specialist role. Now, you're going to be able to hear from each of them in just a moment. I anticipate there's going to be lots of questions, especially around that housing role. I am very excited about that one in particular for sure. But obviously, Zayden has already come into East. Most of our East providers have already met him. He is rocking and rolling, has been a great addition to our team. So if you haven't met him, reach out to Zayden. He's wonderful. Next is graduation planning. We've already been in contact with some of the early graduates we have coming in, Arc of Davidson. We also have Miller Ridge. We've got Buffalo River. So we've got quite a few people who are providers who are starting to experience graduates. We're doing a few different things here. And so I just want to lay out kind of like a micro, meso, macro sort of view of how we're approaching graduation. First, I want to start with the micro level. We have graduates coming. We want to celebrate them. And so if you all are familiar or recall the Publishers Clearinghouse videos where people would show up in a mobile celebration of sorts and give the big novelty check, we have that. And so we are actually scheduling those right now. I would love, love, love to have one for each provider for your first graduate for us to be able to celebrate them. And so on the front end, we are just contacting different providers so that we can meet with their first graduates, be able to celebrate with them. We understand not everybody's going to want to have, myself, Bree, Carly, Zayden showing up and celebrating. It's completely up to them, but it's a way for us to really show that this is a monumental achievement and it deserves to be recognized. Now, going with that micro celebration, we have a graduation certificate. We already have it signed by Commissioner Turner, Deputy Commissioner Allen. We are going to be creating those and issuing those out to providers. And so you all will have a DDA graduation certificate, but this is where things transition into that meso level of celebration. We want to know what y'all are up to. I already have invitations on my calendar for celebrations in the summer and spring from other providers who are using this opportunity to pull their graduates together and actually have some larger celebrations. And so maybe a little bit of encouragement on one side, but if you all have graduates this year, what a wonderful opportunity to pull that group together, celebrate, and include us. My goodness, the transition guides and myself and Dr. Larissa Carunga would love to be able to come to those events, celebrate everybody, and as many people as we can get out from DDA as possible. We want to make sure that those graduates are being recognized. And so that's kind of that meso level. Now we're looking at the macro. This year at the Enabling Technology Summit, we are going to be holding a graduation ceremony. And so part of that, as you are having graduates, we have exit surveys. In that exit survey, you're going to see a question that is a simple yes or no, whether DDA is allowed to contact them again in the future. Completely their choice, but I do want to highlight some of the positives that come with them saying yes to it. On the programmatic side, it allows us to return and get ideas for improvement. It allows us to solicit on the overall well-being of the program into the future as we look at federalization. But then it also allows us to invite them out to future events. And so while, yes, we have graduations and they're off to be able to enjoy their futures, hopefully more independently, I would love for them to still have some way to be tethered to this program and for us to be able to bring them back in and talk about their experiences. And so in that exit survey documentation, I really want to encourage people to say yes there, because it really it opens up a lot of opportunity for us to build a network, not just within our 3 years that we have them, but also being able to expand it out when they graduate. And so there's just something about feeling like there's a place where somebody knows your name. And so I want to continue that. So that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of what to expect in the near future. If you have graduates upcoming, our transition guides are meeting with y'all monthly. Let's get a list of who's graduating, and let's get a plan of both the mobile graduation options, make sure that we have certificates, but also look at maybe some provider celebrations that we can participate in and assist with, but then look to some of those larger graduation ceremonies this year. Now, I am going to toss a quick plug. Jay is leaving us. He is moving to the director of our innovation centers here at the state. And I would love to be able to use some of those resources moving into the future. They're going to be tremendous for our MAPS clients moving into 27, 28, 2029, but also ways that we can also pull some of our groups together from other providers and have some of those celebrations throughout the year. Yes, Jay, and you're going to have to deal with us contacting you, because if y'all haven't been out to any of those innovation centers to see what they're working on, quick plug, they are radical. West is actually getting ready to open theirs in February. And so February 27th, if you're a West provider, come out to that opening. It is going to be tremendous. I'll be there. A lot of DDA reps will be there. Really cool stuff happening. But we're definitely going to book some of those for some graduation ceremonies in the future. VCRM AbleLink API collaboration. As you all may or may not know, we've been trying to find ways to kind of build a stronger web and connection between the different vendors that we have. And so the VCRM has been a tremendous resource for our members to have all of the documents stored in one spot and have it be interactive. We have AbleLink that has a wonderful learning library, customizable apps. What is the bridge between those? And so those two companies have been working together to be able to bridge those two softwares together, so that whether it's surveys, trainings, being able to have the Wayfinder routes inside their VCRM, that's what's motivating this effort. And so that continues. And so we're really optimistic that this year we'll have some really cool updates for you all. Next, VCRM graduation. So this one's a little bit easier, straightforward than the AbleLink one. So when you have your graduates for MAPS and their VCRM, that VCRM is not going to change right away. Now, that's largely because we have an ongoing contract with MAPS, and so they are more than willing to allow that access to the VCRM to continue. Now, from the provider end, your role concludes upon their graduation, but there is still opportunity for natural supports for the participants who are really engaged with the VCRM to continue to use that resource. Now, that said, there may come a time in the future where the costs don't quite make sense anymore for MAPS to continue to provide that. They do not offer a subscription currently. That may be down the line for our graduates if they want to continue with that service. But the plan is, if they are unable to continue to provide that resource for free for our graduates, they will simply archive that map. And so the participant will still be able to engage with resources, still be able to engage with the map, but they won't be able to add additional utilities or different resources, etc. And so that will essentially be an archived map at that point. Now, if they start a subscription service down the line, that person would be able to re-engage and start that service back up again. Now, quick note regarding the VCRM and AbleLink API, just as a note, upon graduation, once that API is secured, unfortunately, they will lose access to Wayfinder apps or the Wayfinder routes in the VCRM upon their graduation, unless they are continuing with the AbleLink software. Next, we have our housing specialist role. So I'm actually going to shut up real quick, and I am actually going to toss it over to Dr. Larissa Karunga, who is our new housing specialist with DDA MAPS. Go ahead, Dr. K.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings from Nashville, Tennessee, and it is the capital right now of the Winter Wonderland. And as a thank you for giving me this opportunity to state who I am. Again, I'm Dr. Larissa Karunga. I am the Middle Tennessee Housing and Independence Specialist for the MAPS program. And currently, I'm learning more about the MAPS program, invoicing, and meeting business needs. So if you see Dr. K, on your email. That is me. It is I, and I'm becoming really dangerous with that. So thanks so much for giving me a little grace in that. But right now in this role, I'm focusing on building housing partnerships. I'm identifying housing options that support varying levels of independence and reducing barriers to stable housing for MAPS participants. I'm also developing a housing demographic survey for individuals with IDDD to better understand housing needs and to identify agencies and community resources that can support housing opportunities across the region. And a key part of my role is ensuring that providers have a clear understanding of MAPS expectations while creating space for collaboration, problem solving, and innovation. So my goal is to support providers and participants in achieving sustainable community-based housing that promotes independence and long-term stability. And so that is my role. And thank you so much. And I'll turn this all back over to Cal. Thank you.
Not sure if you could tell, I am very excited about this housing opportunity for us. Not just in understanding what, in general, the housing need is, but also really understanding the need of our population in particular. And so as Dr. K mentioned right there, you can anticipate across this year, as we're trying to compile demographic information and really determine what is the need of this population, you're going to see more of Dr. K. And so we're going to be having town halls. We're going to have opportunities to hear from our providers, but then also from our participants and our advisory committees to figure out what we actually need to be focusing on, and then how do we actually compose milestones and efforts towards that goal. And so really exciting stuff. Be on the lookout for some of those updates this year. All right, last one. And so this is, I know a lot of people maybe been waiting for this opportunity, but there's some really interesting and fun stuff in the works for this as well. So we have been talking about solicitation for increasing the number of innovation coordination agencies that we currently account for here for the DDA MAPS program. We are currently postponing that. It's not because there's not interest in continuing to expand these opportunities down the line. More so, we are looking at this program and making sure that we are understanding value-based from the bottom up. And so if we are building value into all of our interventions, all of our services, and all of our programmatic planning, how are we also doing that with our coordination services? And so we are actually having some really exciting conversations right now with how we can look at coordination with value. And obviously we've been able to see value added throughout the coordination process, and in engaging some new partners as well as our current partners, we're finding all kinds of opportunities. And so stay on the lookout for that as well. It's going to be a really exciting year to figure out some of these pieces. It's a really fun puzzle. And so I'm very much looking forward to that role. I am going to toss it over. We have some of our transition guys that have some updates here. And so I'll toss it over to Bree real quick for some PSCP plans.
Thanks, Kyle. So continuing to build out DDA, taking over some of the forms as the IC solicitation goes out, DDA being able to have the same documents for all provider agencies statewide. So a PSCP plan template has been developed by DDA, looking at the best time to roll that out. Currently, right now, you are seeing a modified version of that PSCP template in the form of your PSCP amendments. We have solicited provider feedback. We have collaborated with the Charles Lee Center on implementing that PSCP amendment. And so we are just working through final steps on when that best rollout comes out. As you all know, a plan development or a plan template rolls into lots of other things. And so trying to figure out how all the pieces best fit together to make the most sense for the network. And then my other project, you already got a great update on peer mentoring services earlier today. I'll turn it over to Zayden.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to do our first East Tennessee Provider Town Hall. It's going to be on March 20th. All of our East providers should have received an invitation. And if you did not, please let me know. And if someone in your organization did not receive the invitation, please forward it to them. This is going to be an ET session, so it's going to be a bit heavy on ET because one of my goals is to figure out a way that we can really build on our ET process, make it more streamlined, and get more technology to our participants quicker. So I'm super excited for that, and I will kick it to Carly.
Awesome. Thank you, Zayden. So a couple things I've been working on is developing a QA program for MAPS, collaborating with DDA's QA department to kind of come up with what all that would look like, to really have a formalized process that we will implement in the future for QA for the MAPS program. Additionally, just doing some research and evaluation of some additional stipends that may be available for our MAPS participants. So I know there's a lot of utilization of enabling technology, but just looking and seeing if there's any other ways that we can provide some additional stipends. So continuing research in that area.
All right, thank you all. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about some upcoming MAPS meetings. I do actually have some updates with how these are going to start looking. So one of the things that y'all will probably see early next week, as we're also sending out this presentation and some of the materials that we talked about, is I'm going to send an invitation for the remainder of the year. And so we're going to have a last Friday of each month. We're just going to go ahead and carve that out for y'all. But here's the thing. I'm going to be inviting our primary contacts that we have for each of our MAP providers. We understand there are a lot of the fun in contract conversations I've been having with a lot of y'all in this past month is how aggressive some of y'all are growing. And so our ability to maintain who are the DSPs within each group that needs to attend these sessions, as well as our lunch and learns, is eventually going to become untenable. And so what I really want to encourage, I am going to send out these invites to our lunch and learns, our info sessions, exploration series. All of these things will be available to y'all. I'm going to send it all out. I am going to strongly encourage you all to send that invitation to your teams that need to be in this meeting. That way you all have a little bit more control of who's going to be involved in each of these meetings. You can assign that, and especially when y'all are hiring, and we know there's quite a bit of hiring that's currently taking place in the network, you all have the ability when they're onboarding to go ahead and distribute that invite to them, okay? And so that's going to be a change that y'all see. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for us to kind of plan ahead and maybe carve out some months for specific topics like enabling technology, ABLE, etc. But that said, we do have some dates already planned for February and March, so you'll also see these coming through. Our next provider lunch and learn is February 18th. We're already able to hear a little bit about that. ABLE, how appropriate. Millerich is going to be leading along with Lakeisha, and they're going to be explaining the ABLE accounts and the person-supported incentive. And so that's 2/18 at 11. We have our provider info session in February. It's going to be 2/27 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now, listen, a lot of us are going to be out in West. That'll be a cool opportunity. And so we can do some provider info session, and then y'all can come out to the Innovation Center opening. How perfect is that? So I'll see everybody in the provider network out in the West, and we'll have a good day. Maybe grab some lunch. Is Ponderosa still a thing? That was like a buffet place I used to eat when I was a kid. Anyway. Transition Guide Exploration Series. We're going to have that one in March, the 18th. So in March, we're going to be looking at more of an enabling technology heavy month. Obviously, in East, they're going to be doing a town hall talking about enabling technology. We have some of our East Tech champs who are going to be attending that. And so be on the lookout for the Transition Guide Exploration Series in March. We'll be hitting some of that enabling technology content a bit more. And then we'll also have our provider info session the end of the month on 3/27. And so obviously any other resources, departments, other needs, or things that y'all would like to attend, contact me. My email is right there. And then we'll head to this last slide. Now, I'm a sentimental kind of guy, and this is Jay Camperlino's last official provider info session. And so I don't know if it would be most appropriate if everyone can maybe like react with like some hearts or some thumbs up, some praise or something like that, because I know I've been a direct recipient of MAP support over the years, Jay, his team. And so my ability to step into this role and already have so much of this work laid out, ironed out, coals in the fire. And so it's been very exciting for me to step into this environment. But that only happens with the leadership that we've been able to experience from Jay over the last few years. And so Thank you,
What?
Jay, for your time. And while it's
Yeah,
sad to see
we're
you
waiting on
go,
Leslie to get out of our interview. Oh, and I'm
you're
about
really
to be
just
done.
if we could just make sure that we're all muted. But as mentioned, she's moving into the innovation centers. And so if you haven't had a chance to say goodbye, it's not really goodbye, because MAPS is going to be in the ear of Innovation Center nonstop, trying to get more of those resources into the hands of our participants. And so it's been wonderful to have you, Jay. Thank you so much. But with all that said, if there are any questions or answers, let me check the chat to see if we have anything going here that needs addressed. Awesome. If any other questions pop up or anything else is needed, y'all know how to reach us. Talk to your transition guys, reach out to me. But other than that, I will see you all next month, and you'll see a lot of correspondence start next week. And so looking forward to where we're going, onward, as Jay likes to say, and I'm excited about it. Thank you all. Y'all can have the rest of your 8 minutes of this hour back.